everybody. Thanks for joining me for this episode. This is Krista Nash. For those of you watching on video, you'll see I am once again coming to this episode from a different location. I do that from time to time. This happens to be from a cabin retreat center where I'm spending some time with new and old friends and considering sort of divorce from the perspective of people who have been through it and people who wish they'd done it differently, people who wish they had other options. And so while that's all fresh and top of mind, I thought I would record this introductory episode for those of you who are thinking about divorce and legal separation, trying to do this well for your children. If you have children, there are several different types of friendlier divorces, let's put it that way, or friendlier ways to terminate a marital relationship that I think are much better ways of doing it for many, many people, and certainly something you should consider as you or your friends or family are going through this process or contemplating divorce. So this won't be a terribly long video. I do want to note that I am a mediator myself and a negotiator. I think of that as my most important role in almost all of my cases. Of course, when I have clients who I'm representing as a parent in a divorce, I'm obviously looking out for their interests, but my approach is always to try to be amicable, to always use those mediation skills. And so we talk a lot on this podcast about what you should expect of your attorney, and that is a big one. You should expect that your attorney has a mediator's heart, perhaps, somebody who can both defend your interests and advocate for your children, but also has the ability to negotiate. Having a likable attorney who other attorneys like is important because, frankly, it's just like any other industry. If there's somebody who is really hard to work with, cantankerous or rude, let's just put it how it is, then attorneys are a lot less likely to get agreements with those kind of people. So you should be looking for an attorney who is winsome and likable and has the desire to try to help keep this as simple and as amicable as possible for you, while also still standing up for what you need to get in, out of the relationship in terms of assets and debt allocation and parenting responsibilities and parenting time, obviously. So just keep that in mind. I really believe that there is a role for all of us to passionately expect more to make kids be able to flourish and everyone to be able to flourish despite this messy area. There are a lot of other things to talk about alternative dispute resolutions. For example, there are private judges that you can get. There are parenting coordinators and decision makers that can be appointed. Parenting coordinators, at least in Colorado, can be appointed even if parents don't want the parenting coordinator. It's not something that the judge is. Let me say that differently. The judge is allowed to appoint that person if they think that would really help, particularly the children. Obviously, the children. They cannot appoint decision makers unless the parents agree. So a PCDM is somebody who comes in, usually an attorney, who, well, maybe even almost always an attorney. I'm just trying to think if I know any PCDMs who are not attorneys. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but essentially you are appointed usually for a couple year period in order to be the people that that the parents go to when they have a dispute. And the role is defined by the order of appointment. So it can be very broad or very narrow. And when there's a dispute, instead of running off to court, you've got to take that to the parenting coordinator who helps you mediate and think through the situation. And if you all can't make a decision as parents, and the mediation essentially fails with the parenting coordinator, then that person shifts into decision maker role. Usually there's some new processes that occur then because it's more formal and they have to consider certain evidence and make findings and write that decision up and then submit that to the court. But it's not getting submitted to the court for the purposes of the court deciding. It's getting submitted, as an order of that. Essentially, it becomes an order of the court because the decision maker had that authority. So there are some ways to appeal that if you don't like it, but we won't even get into that here at this point, but just know that a parenting coordinator, decision maker, and again, these things, they're not existent in every state. You have to look at different types of alternative dispute resolution where you live. And I've seen judges, most of our judges are just outstanding, and really work hard to make the right decisions. But, just like any profession, some of them are lazy. Some of them are, I don't know, they don't have children. They make really bad decisions sometimes, like shockingly bad decisions sometimes. And, I can't predict that always. I mean, there have been times where I've been wrong about what a judge would do. And, you learn then as an attorney to be very careful what you promise somebody if you're going to take it to court. So people put these blinders on and these goggles where they think their perspective is the only possible right way that a judicial officer would rule. And then they're devastated when they've wasted tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars and they go to court and they don't get what they wanted. And it just can become, I mean, I've seen cases go up on appeal and back down or up on appeal, and it just is crazy making. And so just if you are thinking about this for the first time, or even if you've been involved in divorce and now you're post-decree, think about peace and how to do it in a peaceful way, okay? Because there is a peaceful way.